Hey, everybody. Welcome to Red Carpet Healthcare Solutions. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Molli, founder, CEO of Whole Health Orthopedic Institute, a private practice orthopedic multi-specialty group located in Northwest Pennsylvania. And I'm here with my co-host,
Travis Bazell, also from Northwest Pennsylvania. I'm the co-owner of a local DME company specializing primarily in orthopedic bracing and adjunct therapies post-operatively. Also, on the other side of the business, we own a company called TNT Medical, primarily focusing in consulting for practices, manufacturers, various companies looking to connect with key opinion leaders, in their various markets and their, various fields. And we also are a distribution entity for a number of various implant companies, surgical instruments, biologics, those sort of things. So all things kind of healthcare, we kind of cover the full gamut there. So,
yeah, and Red Carpet Healthcare Solutions. I mean, what is it? Our main goal is really to help inspire and educate those out there, whether they're physicians, mid-level providers, healthcare industry people, on the successes and how to be successful, particularly in private practice, because we've heard that pendulum that's swinging towards hospital employment and has been for the past decade plus. And, the second half of my career, one of my main goals is to help encourage and inspire and educate those that are looking to maybe break away from what most people are doing with hospital employment models and really realize that there are other opportunities out there with private practice. And how do you do that? How do you be successful? So I don't think we could have picked a better guest for episode one. This individual is especially special to me. I can't thank this individual enough for what he has helped to kind of inspire me with and educate me with, not only on what I do on a daily basis, but kind of the business behind it too. And I'm a very, very detail-oriented guy, and maybe he didn't realize, but during that year I was watching, I was listening, everything that he did, every move he made, I was a very, in tune student. So without further ado, Dr. Adolf Lombardi. So Dr. Lombardi, thank you for joining us.
welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me here this evening. My name is Adolf Lombardi. I'm an orthopedic surgeon practicing in Columbus, Ohio. I've been here practicing since 1987, July of 87. I trained in orthopedics at Albert Einstein Medical Center in Philadelphia. Finished that training in 1986. And the last 6 months of 86 I spent with my former partner, Dr. Tom Mallory. And then I went on and I did another fellowship with Dr. Gerald Eng in the Washington area. And so I wanted to specialize in joint replacement. I thought I was going to go back to Philadelphia, but Dr. Mallory asked me to join his practice, and I've never regretted joining his practice. I joined, as I say, in July of 87. So I've been in practice almost 40 years now, same location. It's been a thriving, wonderful, great practice dedicated to adult reconstruction of the hip and knee. And so I, like Ryan, love the private practice world. I think it's where we all should be. I think we went into medicine because we have a certain personality, and especially in orthopedics. And I think that personality is that we are geared to self-direct and to every day want to make decisions that we feel are best for ourselves and for our patients. And that, my friends, is the key to success.
Wow. I guess we could end the podcast now, but so honestly though, Dr. Lombardi, when you came out, obviously you had options. You had trained with both Dr. Mallory and Dr. Eng. You decided to come back to the Columbus area to join JIS, and 36 years now in practice, going on close to 40. What do you think if you were talking to either a younger orthopedic surgeon or maybe somebody that's in their mid-career that's been in a hospital employed model that's maybe frustrated with that? What would you say are the top 3 keys to being successful in private practice?
Well, I say there are 3 things that you as a physician need to do for your practice to thrive. And this may be a cliche to many of you, but when I said to Dr. Mallory after my first year of practice there, I was flabbergasted. Here I was, first year of practice, doing almost 500 total joints. That's a big volume back in the day of '86, right? And I looked
Huge
at him
volume,
and I
yeah.
said, Dr. Mallory, how do we know the patients will be there next year? Because that's the biggest concern you have. Will I have the patients? So you have to evaluate each opportunity you are looking at to see what is their patient profile, how are they attracting their patients, and how busy are all the partners. And so when Mallory looked at me, he said, Adolf, you take good care of patients. He also said this to me, which is very important. He said, you can be one of two types of surgeons and have one of two types of practice. You can be a low volume surgeon, surround yourself with just a few people. You won't need a large staff. You can do a low volume of surgery. Or you can be a high volume surgeon and surround yourself with a larger staff because you are the surgeon. You can do everything from, clean the floors, set the stage, do whatever it is you want to do to the operation, which is key and vital, right? So if you take good care of your patients become your spokesperson. In office today, I can't tell you every patient, not every, but 99% of them said something about the person who sent them. I have a practice that's grown on patient referral, not physician referral. So if you are an interactive personality, I laughed, I joked with my patients today, I hugged some patients today. I think that sets up the first premise: take good care of your patients. The second point is research. Research is key. And I'm not talking about going out and doing, experimental. I'm talking clinical research. I'm talking about knowing how well you're taking care of your patients. I'm talking about you assessing how the patients are doing, what your results are, what techniques you're using. It's paramount that we do what is state of the art, that we base our care and treatment on current medical recommendations, not just on the surgical perspective, but also on the medical perspective. And then I think the final thing that Mallory taught me was education. And we educate on multiple levels, right? We educate the patient, the family. We educate our colleagues around us, be they residents or just be they our partners. And then we go out and we educate in multiple educational forums. So those are the three basic tenets of establishing a good practice. But that also means you have to surround yourself with people who help you do what you need to get done. Remember, you're the surgeon. You need to be on top of everything that's happening, but you need to have sophisticated people who can run the business and help you run the business, because it is a business and you have to make business decisions. If you are all of a sudden incorporating something into your practice that has very soft data and isn't really getting you the next level and you're losing money on it, it doesn't make a difference if you do more. The more you do, the more you lose. So that's not that just doing volume doesn't help. And so I look at everything you try to incorporate in your practice and make sure before you do that, you see what is the benefit to my patient? What's the value proposition to my practice? In my practice, I am responsible for the livelihood of many individuals, right? Everyone who's on that JIS team is dependent on me and my colleagues bringing in the surgical volume, seeing the patients to create the finances to keep everyone's paychecks coming, right? And so we not only have a responsibility to our patients, we have a responsibility to ourselves and our staff. And I think if you try to surround yourself with good people, private practice makes sense. Now, I think it's also, as you're evaluating this world of private practice, look at these practices you're perhaps contemplating joining and try to decide in your mind, what is it that they're doing that is keeping them getting patients and being financially productive? And there are many ways we can do that. Even in a joint replacement program, we always used to say, well, we don't have the ancillaries. Our sports colleagues have a lot of ancillaries. Well, one of the things that I see is that we do have ancillaries. And I started back I started practice in 1986. I worked with Dr. Mallory, and we chatted all the time about perhaps starting an orthopedic hospital. And then I had that idea that, this is time. Here I was. It was around 2000. Our volume was growing, and we were bringing patients to a hospital downtown. And so I went to our administrator and I said, it is time for us to consider building an orthopedic specialty hospital. And I had some reasons and I outlined them with him. And he said, well, go ahead and give me some ideas. And so I put together a limited liability company. I had 40 surgeons join. And, we presented this to our CEO. We had plans. We had picked a CEO, a CNO, a CFO, an architect. But they didn't want any parts of a doctor owning a hospital. So, we turned out and said, we're going to do this. They did some economic credentialing. I lost in that process a number of my partners, left 27 docs, and then ultimately in 2003, we opened our own hospital. So this was a way for me to expand on my office business, as you will, and also look at how I could specialize the care and treatment of the orthopedic patient. And then in
So
2007, laws changed, and we had to sell.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you bring up, because ancillary, a lot of people are like, well, how do we even survive? Because Medicare is CMS is continuing to reduce our reimbursements, our cost of doing business, our overhead is increasing every single year. So what are those creative ways? And you hit the nail on the head, whether it was when you started, you knew Albany Surgical Hospital. I was fortunate enough to be able to join a surgical hospital 2020, so 3.5 years ago now, here in Pennsylvania. But you're right. I mean, when the Obamacare Act kind of came in and they put the moratorium on that, it created a lot of chaos. And I think the ASC world started opening up, and that's where I know you can speak to the white fence piece of things. But that was another huge ancillary source of revenue for physicians.
Well, yeah, that was a big move for us. Once we sold to a healthcare system, we continued in a management association. And that's something that you can do in any hospital situation. You can start a co-management program where you are co-managing with the hospital their joint surface, spine service, whatever it is, or their entire orthopedic profile. And there are people out there who can help you establish those co-management agreements. And then you can also partner in a surgery center. And we did that in 2013. We started White Fence Surgical Suites. We now have 2 other surgery centers. And so when we brought in younger partners, we realized that it would be expensive for them to buy into White Fence Surgical Suites. So we started yet another surgery center only about 5 miles away so that the younger partners could get a piece of the pie and keep going. And so I think that looking at various opportunities, they're there. So I think private practice is not dead. It's just being creative and looking at all the options that come to you. This past weekend, I was in Orlando at Current Constant Joint Replacement, and I was introduced to a company that has a wound care program post-op. That might be something we'll look into. I was introduced to another company that has a cycle type machine to help with post-op, progress of our patients. Now, I don't think you go and look willy-nilly at all these different opportunities just because of the almighty dollar. I think, as I said, start with the basics. Take good care of your patients, do your research, and educate. And if you see value in those opportunities and they bring value to you, your practice, that's where the marriage happens, and that's what keeps you going. So always have an open mind. Don't close your mind. Don't think that there's no way, new ways. I always look at every new opportunity, evaluate it at its face value, see what I can do to make it work for me, my practice. And if it's purely, not going to help my patients, purely just a money grab, that's not what I'm saying. Please don't misinterpret me. I'm just saying be a good steward of your practice and make sure you look at every opportunity And if it's taking better care of your patients and giving better results, then your patients will be happy, and that increases your bottom line because you'll see more people.
Amen. Trev.
So, yeah, I mean, so Dr. Lombardi, one of the things I think about, and, one of the questions that I had for you kind of coming into this, and you kind of have answered it, to a degree, but, in terms of like where you've come from, like your mentors, right? Because it sounds like you are a mentor to, I mean, obviously Dr. Molli, is one of your fellows, and, there's a number of them, that I've met over the years. Dr. Ferndek, I mean, it's crazy to think all of these guys that have gone through the fellowship program over the years, right? I mean, several decades of you kind of mentoring people. But for you, and you've kind of mentioned some of them though, right? I mean, just, your mentors and kind of how you get to this place and how you, and again, I think you've answered it, but how you vet some of those things and how you get to a place where you stay in private practice. And was that something that was instilled in you by a lot of those guys, or, like how did that path go?
Well, I had, to be honest with you, a little firsthand experience of what it was like not to be in private practice. My mentor, Tom Mowry, decided that, he wanted to give back to the university where he trained, and he was going to go ahead and he was going to become chair at Ohio State. And I quickly, in talking to him, saw what his ambitions were and how he wanted to do this. And, he started, everything was gun-ho. And guess what? 6 to 9 months in, the dean changed and life changed. And there's a perfect, segue into the fact that you control your destiny if you're in private practice. You decide what's right, what's wrong. There isn't another party that comes in and says, oh, Ryan, I'm sorry, but, that's no longer my vision. So we're not going to be doing that XYZ anymore. I don't want somebody coming in there and telling me that. I want to be able, with my partners, to make what's the best decision for our practice. I'll tell you another thing, it was a few years ago, we looked at venture capital and my younger partners made the assessment. They brought me in for a couple meetings. And we elected to go and do this. And initially, I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical. I mean, I thought it was a good deal for me, but I was wondering how good of a deal would be for my partners. But it's turned out that there are power in numbers, right? And so here we are now, my colleagues right across the street in a different practice group are now my partners. And we are now making collective headway in capitalizing on Central Ohio in what we now call Ortho Alliance. For example, we have taken all of our DME of all the groups, we've put them into one lot, and we are now working. We've taken what's good from one practice, the other practice, put it all together, have one director. And so there's a big pot now of DME that, I wasn't sharing in and others weren't sharing in, and we're all sharing that collectively. We've opened up 2 physical therapy departments in outskirts of Ohio, owned by the collective Ortho Alliance group. So I don't have to worry when my patient, comes from that small town in a certain area of Ohio. I now have a Orthopedic Alliance physical therapy group that I share in that revenue. So it has become very strategic joining this group, and they have been very responsive to our needs all across the board. And we are now working with one medical record system. And we're working with one HR group. So there is a little better, finances because of the fact that we've taken the pool, put them together. And I do think that, it all depends. You got to look at these offers and analyze them and evaluate them. But I'm still in control. I mean, I have the Ortho Alliance overhead over me, but they're still coming to me and my group and finding out what it is we need. And we still have our own administrator intact in our in-house. So it's a way, I think, for private practice to thrive with numbers that are going to produce financial reward.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a huge wave. We've seen it in the ophthalmology world. We've seen it in the urology world,
Yep.
and orthopedics is definitely over the past 5 years the biggest on the market, and you know the industries heading that direction. So, Dr. Lombardi, you've roughly 40 years, right? You've been an orthopedic surgeon,
Yes.
private practice pretty much the entire time, other than that initial thing with Dr. Mallory. What would you say you've seen change the most in that 40 years? And what do you see are the current biggest obstacles to private practice? And not only the obstacles, but solutions. And I know private equity is a potential solution, strength in numbers. But are there any other things that you found, whether it's ASCs, kind of the secret sauce to these other young or mid-level orthopedic surgeons looking to maybe make that transition to private practice?
Well, I think if you're going to make the transition to private practice, you have to come with a commitment, and you have to come with a passion. And you're gonna it's going to take a little time and effort. So it's may be easy to sit back and count your RVUs and collect your paycheck, and at 5 o'clock leave. But that's not what private practice is. It's going to take a little more time, a little more effort to get it to where you're very comfortable. But you're not telling somebody that I can't take off because I've already used X number of days. I go to the meetings I want to go to. I take the time off I want to take off, and all my partners do the same. So I think that flexibility comes with no other practice that I'm aware of. So if you want to come, if you join a practice, you're a go-getter, you're energetic, then I think you're going to be successful. I'm looking for a new partner, interviewed a few people, and it was refreshing for me to hear one or two of the people that we interviewed, not wanting to shy away from numbers, surgery, being around, doing the work. That's what's going to be your success: passion and commitment.
Before we go on, I know Travis is another question here, but one of the most important lessons that you taught me when I was a fellow, and I try to teach anyone that I'm around, whether they're my staff, my teammates, colleagues, is just leading by example. And I can specifically say, you not only walk the walk or talk the talk, but you walk the walk. And one thing that you taught me is you told me one day, you're like, Ryan, you can never sit back and bitch and complain and moan about something not moving or being as efficient as you would like it to be if you're not doing something to help create the solution for that. And I watched you. You grabbed a mop, you went into that room and you mopped the floor. You were helping to change sheets on the bed. You were helping to transfer patients from, the gurney over to the operating room table. So I encourage young physicians, don't think that any task is beneath your pay grade. Right. Especially if you're trying to be efficient. You need to build morale. You need to build camaraderie and a team around you, and doing those, what may seem like menial tasks, but they literally are. If people see you grabbing that mop and doing those things, you're going to win on so many different levels. And Dr. Lombardi, I just want to personally thank you for that lesson that you taught me.
No, I think it's very true. I do that. I do try to, rally my troops, if you will, and make sure everyone is around me. And you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, another key to success is efficiency. And you, in the OR, you're going to build efficiency by repetition and by giving the tech that's across from you, your PA, they have to have specific tasks in the operation. You, as a surgeon, don't need to do everything. They can grab a coker, they can grab a pituitary, a rongeur, they can help you get the operation done. If you stay focused on what you're doing and not move your eyes, and Bob Booth said this in a great talk, every time you realign your vision, you have to re-register. Now, when you're young, it happens quicker than when you get older, but it's always trying to keep your eye on the target and putting your hand out and the correct instrument is handed to you in the correct fashion. And I'll tell you, that comes from, doing things the same way. And so I would encourage you, as you start practice, if you're doing total joints, pick a vendor. Don't try to do somebody's hip and somebody's this, and then, oh, I'm going to bring in that. Pick somebody who's going to be able to help you. And then when you get that rep, on your side, he'll be around to make sure that the surgery's coming up. Everything is there. You'll be there before you get there. And that's also a way you're going to build, perhaps an association with industry, which I've been very effective at doing. I do have a patents, et cetera, but just even maybe a simple consulting arrangement. If you're there doing that product and you're giving them back input and feedback, they're going to see who the star players are and who can be involved and who can help them, teach the safe and effective use of their products. And that might be you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny hearing you guys kind of talk in this conversation as it, kind of evolves, is like value proposition. Dr. Lombardi, I've heard you say that a couple times with value proposition with patients and value proposition in the practice. And we talk about value proposition every day, right? So, and that's how I started, right? I mean, I was a sales rep when this is going back to 2011. So, I mean, I was in the Columbus area. I mean, I was more spinal orthopedic bracing, so not necessarily in your world, but I remember, the Cardinal Health, the Ortho Ones, before, all this stuff. GIS and Dr. Lombardi, it was like a big thing when I was in the area. Like, these are kind of the key players. And, to anybody, especially like healthcare entrepreneurs, whether you're a physician, you're a mid-level provider, you're, like Dr. Lombardi said, a sales rep, whatever it might be, manufacturers. I've kind of made a career of being a value add person, whether that means I'm getting compensated or not. That really at the end of the day is not what it's about, right? It's like, if I could be a resource and you can provide value to what I'm doing regardless, right? And I've heard you guys at that level being the physicians and kind of the top dogs, right? In terms of the surgeons, you guys are wanting to provide value. It's just like the team around you to want to provide that value and be that value add because they see that's what you're doing every day. It really makes a huge difference. It does. I've seen it over the last, decade of doing sales and now kind of transitioning into, kind of doing my own thing. And I think that's how I kind of got to the place that we're at now. But it's just kind of nice full circle to kind of hear that value proposition and value add is kind of really, I think, how anybody builds anything.
Well, if you're focused on, I'm not getting paid for that,
right?
That's the wrong mentality, because I'll tell you what, you do that extra thing. And, my reps, Chris and Brittany, they're amazing. They'll go in, they'll mop the floors, they'll do this, they'll do that. That's not part of their contract with the implant vendors and
Sure.
manufacturers. But when people around them see them doing that, they trust them more, they value them more. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking to them to use them as much as I can, because I know that they're a valuable teammate and they're going to help me out in any jams that I'm in or nowhere in the future.
So actually, Dr. Lombardi, I had another quick question for you. And, I don't want to get off the track here, but I think kind of in line with what we've been talking about. I've been reading articles in Becker and, just other journals. And people talking about just this general idea that, not even generally just orthopedics, but, medicine in general. Reimbursements continue to get cut and or decline. And, your costs are inevitably always kind of going up. Like, how have you guys, especially in the last 3 years with COVID and, those sort of challenges, what are you guys doing to kind of try to combat that and overcome that? Is it, like you said, your referral patterns and things like that, or, how have you guys approached that piece of it?
Well, you have to be creative, and you have to be partnering with industry. So, what are the expenses that are driving our cost up? Well, one of the things we never talk about. We always talk about prices of implants, but what we don't talk about is efficiency. Now, when you're at a hospital and you're sitting around for an hour between cases, that is total inefficiency. If you're in an OR where they're only getting 3-4 joint replacements done in a day, that's total inefficiency. So we don't talk about how we have to, as physicians, as the captain of the ship, as Dr. Molli mentioned, we have to be the motivators. We have to come in the morning with the perspective, leave whatever's, causing you grief or behind you. Come in motivated, come in as the captain of the ship, come in, encouraging your staff, working with your staff. And that's where I think that, if you do the same thing every day, then there's no angst about, I got so-and-so coming today. Well, I really don't like that person and how they deal, that rep, whatever. Then they know who they're dealing with. And then, I'm constantly saying, great job. Thank you so much. Let's move ahead. Hey, can we get the next patient back? And so I think that's the number one way you're going to fight, the lowering of our reimbursement, by being very efficient. Number two is by dealing with industry. I mean, there's a little, profit there that can be shaved down a little bit, and you can bring that cost down. And then you're going to be looking at every item that you order and do, especially if you own the surgery center. Do you really need the Aquamanus on that hip case, or can you do without it? Sorry to mention any particular device, but I should have said, do you need X, Y, Z on that particular case? And making sure that it's a definite need. Do you need 3 saw blades? Can you do it with 1? Do you need 2 units of cement? All the things that, we may take for granted at the hospital. When it becomes your own pocketbook, you don't. And so I think the key to success is going to be to increase your efficiency so you can do that extra case to perhaps make up the difference. At some point, you may just say no and decide that you're not going to accept government dollars, that you're going to, you have a fee. I don't know how that's going to work for some of you, but, for some, it may work well. I have not done that. I continue to take whatever insurance or the government pays me. But I've been able to make up with the ancillary income we've already discussed, whether it's the facility fees, the DME, the PT, MRI. Now, I forgot to mention that, where, the groups have organized themselves and we're going to put an MRI unit. We're not making the hospital happy, but, we have to stay alive and we're going to do it.
Did you ever at any point in your career, particularly recently, consider maybe not taking the government dollars, saying, I'm not going to take Medicare anymore?
Well, I've considered it, but then, one of my partners has done that. And the other day, a patient came in and she said, you're not going to charge me extra money, are you? Because I really can't afford it. And I guess at this stage of my career, I decided not to do that. But it may be something that when you get 25 years in, maybe more of us will do that. Because I do feel that our patients are getting a good operation for a very low fee to the surgeons. And, obviously we can't, incorporate all of ourselves and, form a union or something like that. But thankfully, we've got AOS and AUKUS on our side, passing that message on that this is not fair and that we are doing a great job. And I remind my patients occasionally when they ask me about stem cells, and I said, well, yeah, go and have those stem cells for $5,000, and it'll be unsuccessful. You'll come to me, and Medicare will pay me all of about $1,100 to do your hip and knee.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny. They have no idea, right? And that operation that you do that has hundreds of steps in it versus sticking a needle in someone's knee and injecting a bunch of stem cells. But do you have time for a couple of fun questions?
Sure.
So we got Christmas coming up.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that I was joking with Travis. He goes, is he going to be at home or is he going to be in the office when he's recording this? I said, well, it's 6:30. He's probably going to still be in the office. I remember when I was a fellow and I was like, you don't leave the office until Dr. Lombardi leaves the office. Right? and that was a tough task because you're so committed. But, Christmas coming up, I know you've got some grandbabies around and things like that. But can you give me your top 5 Christmas movies that you enjoy?
I really don't watch much of movies, so I really can't tell you.
I was just going to ask him, like, do you watch movies?
Not really.
All right. How about some good family traditions that you guys do around the holidays?
Well, I mean, it's, we set up that Christmas Eve is always 4 o'clock mass, followed by grandma making dinner, and all the grandchildren and children here, and then we get up Christmas Day and open presents, and then we take off for Florida. So we'll be leaving for Florida the day after Christmas, and that's where I really enjoy spending time with my family and friends, and and getting away a little bit. So
Being a fellow
I've never
Posano,
operated
do you do
between
the seven fishes?
Christmas and New Year's, and I'm not doing that this year either.
I've taken the week off between Christmas and New Year's for, I think, ever since I've been in practice. But do you do the seven fishes for your Christmas Eve?
No, we actually do a beef roast, actually.
Oh, okay, nice. We usually do the roast for Christmas Day, but Trav, any fun questions?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think I was kind of hoping for.
Can I tell a quick story?
I was hoping for the Grinch or something. I do have a funny question for Dr. Lombardi, though.
Let me ask my.
Okay.
You ask your question,
Okay.
and then I'm going to tell my funny story.
Okay. Well, Dr. Lombardi, all right, this is kind of funny, right? So, Dr. Molli sent me your resume, your CV,
Yes.
and
Oh God!
after I got through like
Do you really want to
page
ask this?
300, it's incredible. I mean, all the things that you've done and things that you're a part of. And as I was scrolling through something, I asked Dr. Molli, I said, "Is Dr. Lombardi is he a knight? Was he knighted or something?" I was reading something in there. I'm like, "Is he an actual knight?" Maybe I was reading it wrong, but I had to ask because of the 266 pages that stuck out to me. So
Yes, that is true. In the Catholic Church, there are the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, and our mission is to provide funds to maintain the many of the structures in Jerusalem where Christ walked. So I think that's our mission, and we also do some local missionary work. So it was one of the things I got invited to become a member of, and the bishop knighted me.
I love it.
I was going to say, if someone ever offers me to become a knight, you can't turn that down.
No.
So
yeah, no, that's kind of an awkward thing. No, that's really cool. Well, thank you for sharing that.
All right.
I told him, I was
thanks
like,
for the question.
Is that going to be weird if I ask that?
All right.
I had to know. I had to
got
know.
anything else? What are we doing?
I got one funny story.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll conclude here. So you brought up CCJR. I don't know if you're going to remember this or not, but this was Vegas. I think I was either a fellow or it was the year after I finished my fellowship.
Yes.
And, we were hanging out, we're having a couple cocktails, and my best friend from high school, who's a real estate attorney in Cleveland, Ohio, Jared Oakes, he was there for a real estate meeting, and he was staying somewhere, and I said, "Hey, come on over. We're having a cocktail here, and I'd really, really like for you to meet Dr. Lombardi." So Jared came over, and I made the introduction. Do you remember any of this?
I think I do, but go ahead.
Yeah. So you asked Jared, you're like, "Hey, would you like a drink?" And he goes, "Sure." And you said, "Well, what would you like to drink?" And he's just like, "Yeah, I'll have whatever you're having." So you ordered him a scotch, and Jared had this all pre-planned in his head. He did not tell me about this at all. And he takes his drink, and he, we do our cheers and everything like that. And he takes a drink, and he goes, "God," he goes, "what is this shit?" And you go, "Well, it's Macallan 18. He goes, "Oh, figures." He goes, and he sets it down. He goes, "I don't drink anything, younger than Macallan 25. And I'm like, I'm mortified because I'm like introducing him to you. And then he goes, "I'm just messing with you. It's amazing." But the look on your face, and I was like, "Oh my God, Jared, I can't believe you're doing this." But, Dr. Lombardi, I just want to thank you for, taking the time this evening to do this, especially episode 1. This is very, very meaningful to me. I know it's meaningful to Travis. And hopefully this is going to be a good kickoff for future podcasts. But you are a local legend, a global legend. And I know I've thanked you before, but I want to thank you personally for everything that you've done for me. I know Phil Frendak is extremely thankful as well for all the knowledge and everything that both you and Dr. Mallory kind of instilled in him. And I know he wishes his, very Merry Christmas and holiday wishes to you and your lovely family as well.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Travis. I'll say this,
Thanks,
Ryan.
Dr. Lombardi.
Having fellows around has been one of the best parts of my practice because young ladies and men that are interested in what I do and they listen to you and they learn from you and you learn from them. And they keep you fresh, they keep you young, and they always are great to have. I did fellowship interviews today, and I had a good time with those two fellows, just seeing patients and challenging them how they would do things and just making them think. And hopefully I can continue to do that. And I feel great. I love what I do. I've never worked a day in my life. That's how happy I am.
Well, I love that. Again, Merry Christmas to you, your entire family. Go enjoy those grandbabies.
All the best to everyone.
Merry Christmas. Safe travels to
Appreciate
Florida.
it.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Dr. Lombardi. Appreciate it.
Take care, boss. Have a good one.
Bye now.
Thank you, Dr. Lombardi, for joining Dr. Molli and I on the Red Carpet Healthcare Podcast. We really appreciate it. Thank you. For anyone that picked up on the glass that he had, we had sent him over a bottle of 12-year Macallan, the Sherry Oak Cask, which I thought was a nice touch. I thought he'd enjoy that.
Anyone out there that may want to become a guest, realize that there are some advantages.
There's a gift, a gift, not or two. There's a gift.
Don't make this multiple.
One gift.
But yeah, so we always like to maybe share in a cocktail or something like that while we're doing something like this. So he was drinking the Macallan 12. You said Sherry Cask?
Yeah, that's what he likes. Yeah. So actually, just a shout out to a partner of ours that I really appreciate, Scott Smith.
Columbus guy.
We
should have mentioned that while Dr. Lombardi was on.
I know. He definitely knows, obviously, Scott. So Scott Smith, Maxtown Medical, good friend of both Dr. Molli and I's, partner in various things. But we were thinking, how are we going to get this bottle over there, right? And the drone was broken. So
we were like, can we Uber it?
I was making phone calls, and apparently buying alcohol over the phone and having it sent to somebody that's a business idea.
Well, don't say it in front of everybody.
Uber booze. No, and I called Scott. Obviously, first thing he did, I just said, hey, here's what I need, and here's where I need you to take it. And just like that, it was there within like an hour.
Show them what we're drinking.
Yeah, so one of my favorites, Buffalo Trace. Nice little bourbon. May or may not have had a bottle of wine that tasted like quarters before we started, but
quarters,
not very good.
Maybe pennies, but
pennies, quarters, all the same. So Buffalo Trace, one of my favorite bourbon. I'm a bourbon guy through and through. I know that you will partake in it,
especially in the wintertime when it's cold. It just
so
we got a nice little fireplace, which you guys can't see.
So good
going on over here, but
and did you win these or?
Yeah.
No,
actually, I bought these.
Okay, you bought these. Yeah. So our nice Kakwa.
Both Kakwa members.
Shout out Kakwa.
We're gonna say I won them. It should have been part of the winning.
Definitely.
Thing, right?
Yeah. If any of those guys see this, they should. I mean,
shoe wise, we forgot to ask Dr. Lombardi what he was wearing, but I guarantee it was some type of alligator shoe.
100%.
He had a pretty
that
badass suit. Right?
That suit was amazing.
I mean, all of them are. They're all custom. But what are you wearing there?
So Jordan 3. Reimagined. This is the Jordan 3 silhouette colorway from 88. So, I mean, this is the OG. It's kind of probably hard to see, but it's got the original.
Those are slam dunk
Nike
championship
Nike
shoes.
on the back, not the Jumpman. So these are a retro version, not the original version, because they would probably crumble when I walked on them from 88. But I don't know if you can see. So for me, like a part of the detail, like in shoes. So I'm going to take it off. It's kind of weird, but I want to show this to you. So the thing that I really love about this last kind of season of these shoes so you see how it's like yellowed?
Yeah.
They did that on purpose to make it look like it was
like a little
older than it was.
Yeah.
So they did that with the one and a few others. And I've been very fortunate to get a lot of the shoes that I like. So I'm wearing the Jordan 3 Reimagine.
By the way, the ones that you sent me today, which are similar to these are the Jordan 11 bread lows. Yeah. So I have the bread mids. Actually, Trad, you got those for me.
Those are, it's the highs.
Are they highs?
Yeah. So, dude, you remember that?
Yeah, you got all of us.
The
That
whole
myself, the three boys,
and Maverick and me.
yeah.
It was on a
And
mission.
I don't think any of maybe Luca could fit into Anthony's version because it was about that age. But regardless, I'm always a low guy. The highs and the mids cut into my ankles a little too much, but these are nice. And then we got the pair that you were showing me today, which are
the Space Jam lows.
Yeah.
That might be the most anticipated shoe next year. I mean, they're already talking about
summer
it,
2024.
Yeah. So
look out for those. But, just in conclusion, how do you get in touch with us and what's coming up in the future? So we, highly, highly suggest and recommend and encourage people to comment, make suggestions. Hey, who do you want to see? What topics do you want to have discussed? If you have any guests in mind that you'd like, or I actually had a healthcare attorney that's going to be joining us here probably in February. She reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to be a guest." And so that's what we're looking for. So if you know of somebody, or if you yourself are in the healthcare industry and you have a particular passion about private practice and just how to make that happen, we'd love to have those discussions and conversations with you.
Certainly. No, I mean, if there's one thing I could say, just kind of piggybacking off of that is, there's another podcast that you started, Hey Sawbones, and it's my passion, my experience. And, one of the things, my story, my passion. So, but in terms of like the experience thing is for you and me, this isn't necessarily, we're not necessarily the resident experts on all things that we're talking about, but these are our experiences, right? And so these are the things that we've done, the things that have worked, maybe the things that haven't worked. And so I think this is just going to be a really good platform for us to invite others that are like-minded and entrepreneurial to, just kind of open the floor to have the dialogue and kind of share some of that stuff. And I'm just excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get in touch with us, we have a lot of good resources. Obviously, we're both on LinkedIn. You can look us up individually on that. You can look at our website, redcarpetortho.com. And if you want to email us, you can always get in touch with me at Dr. Ryan Molli at redcarpetortho.com.
Or you can get a hold of me at tbuzzell, BUZZELL at redcarpetortho.com.
Yeah. So, hey, want to wish everybody Merry Christmas. You guys will be seeing this mid-January, so it'll be come and gone. But, I want to again thank Dr. Lombardi for his time and his candor and just his experience. And, it's going to be a fun project. Looking forward to it. And you know what? Hey Sawbones is a lot of fun, but this is going to be a lot of fun as well, especially since I'm doing it with somebody that I love and respect, and I get to sit next to somebody. It's like, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck sitting up there and commentating on games. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You're Troy Buck, right?
No, I'm Troy Aikman. I've won Super Bowls. You haven't, so that's fine, though.
Troy Buck is older, right?
Probably. Did you say Troy Buck? You just combined the two? I think you just did. Anyways, have a good evening. Merry Christmas. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, dude.